We talked about the Rockets, a team that's peaking at the right time, a team that's not peaking at the right time, peaked at the wrong time, maybe, is the Clippers. In their last 6 games, they've lost by 8 to the Pelicans, lost by 17 to the Hawks at home, beat the Blazers twice, then lost by 14 to the Sixers at home, and lost by 17 to the Pacers at home. It's been a rough stretch for the Clippers. They had Russ back last night. A lot of people think they needed him back. They had him back last night, lost to the Pacers. What do you think is the answer there?
Well, it's not Russ. I love Russ. I'm glad he's back.
Yeah.
But he's not like the X factor for their team.
Do you think it's just them waiting for the kind of playoffs to start?
I think they need to just get through the playoffs. They went 25-5 at one point. So we know this team has clicked and got it together. Right. So nobody was saying anything then. And now they're losing some games and it looked a little weird over the past, 4 or 5 weeks. And now everybody's like, what's our identity? Paul George is like, we don't have an identity. James Harden's like, we don't have an identity.
James Harden's blocking his teammates' shots. I don't know what that is.
Ty Lue's, got questioned last night, and he was just like, our identity is that we're soft.
Yeah.
So he's just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, by the way, bro, we're talking about superstars saying this. Why don't y'all figure out what your identity is, man? We don't have an identity. Then give us one. You're the best part of the team.
By the way, and the 2 best players of the team have been together for 4 or 5 years now.
Like, why are you finding your identity, bro? Like, okay, you have James. James is there. Is it a James issue?
Yeah.
Because you and Kawhi have played together long enough and been with under Ty Lue long enough to have an identity, bro. Zubac, you, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, you guys all have reps.
Yeah.
You have plenty of reps.
All those guys went to the conference finals a couple years ago and Kawhi was out with Paul George.
Yeah, like, bro, you had an identity. So what is the issue now? The only difference is James is there. So is this a James thing? Because y'all loved him 2 months ago.
Right.
You guys were running through the league. Everybody's like, yo, this team could contend with Denver. That was the conversation surrounding the Clippers. They had an identity then. You can't have trouble in paradise and now be like, we don't have an identity.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about,
These
man?
are just head-scratching losses. I mean, without the Blazers wins, so they beat up on the Blazers twice, these are 4 really bad losses.
Yeah, bro.
A bunch of them at home. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know what's going on there. I'm not in that locker room. I've never been the best player on my team or even the second or third. That's not true.
You were the Clippers.
Clippers are like the second best player on that team. But the last few years there. But I've never, it doesn't matter. I've never been the star of the team, okay? I've never been a Paul George. I never was an all-star. I never was James Harden. I never was Kawhi, okay? These guys are Hall of Famers. Figure it out. You're the identity. Newsflash. Just like every other team. The best players create the identity. It flows through you. It's a copycat league. And I say that not only from the aspect of game style from team to team, I'm talking about from player to player, man. What you do, the other guys in the locker room look at and be like, that's what we're doing. Denver has an identity. Its best pass, best shot is the play they make. You want to know why? The best player makes it every time. Jokic doesn't go into a game trying to score 40. He tries to win the game. If he has a good shot and Michael Porter has a great shot, guess who gets a shot? Michael Porter Jr. That's the identity of the Nuggets. They play through their 2-man game. Jamal and Jokic are the guys. Everyone else is going to eat off of them. We're all going to get shots, be in your right spot, play your role. If you don't, we'll find someone that will. That's the identity. But who does it start with? Nikola.
I'm still not as worried for some reason, just because I know that, like you said, you always talk about last year how Kawhi just showed up to the playoffs. No one expected anything.
That was the weirdest thing.
That's the
weirdest thing I've ever seen.
So don't you still have that in the back of your head that he could just show up? We saw him this year.
He scored 30 in 2 games and just quit. It was the nuttiest thing I've ever seen. He outplayed Kevin both games. Kevin wanted no smoke with him, and then they it was just a wrap after that. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. They get in the playoffs and it's like, identity or not, you want to play this team and beat them 4 out of 7 times? I don't think so, man. Like, they got a lot of firepower over there. But I will say this, man. Like, it's not good that, like, when times get rough, they like crumble. And like, why are you saying this to the media?
Yeah.
Why is Paul or James coming out and being like, we don't have an identity, bro? Like, we don't need that. I shouldn't be talking about this right now. Media questions should be like, listen, right now, we're struggling. We're going through a rough stretch. It's a good opportunity for us to be tested. We got tested early when we got James and this new acquisition, and we figured it out, and the whole world was behind us, and we're 25-5 over 30 games, and we're like the team in the West. Right now, we're getting a little bit of reality check. We're figuring out some things, fine-tuning. It's looking a little weird, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Even if you don't believe it, put it out there, because you're the captain. You're one of them, James, Paul. Like, bro, that's the identity. Lead. Be a leader.
Yeah.
That's the identity. That's what we need you to do. I don't need you going to the media and tell the world we don't have an identity.
So
please.
Let's talk about their leadership then. So Kawhi's always been a guy that's like soft-spoken. That kind of leader doesn't talk. James Harden, you've been on a bunch of his teams. what kind of a leader is he? I mean, he has a reputation of people that, quits in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. James is my guy. I think he's obviously one of the best offensive players of all time.
Yeah, he's both our guys.
And then you have Paul George too. Like, so maybe this team is Russ the lead? Like, what's the leader?
That's the question.
That's why
that's what we're saying.
Yeah, maybe that's why they just don't have this issue.
I just said that who's a leader? Well,
someone needs to step
what's
up.
Denver's identity? It starts with Nikola. There's no question.
Kawhi just probably, in his mind, he's probably like, I just want to go hoop. And I'll lead that way.
Yeah, that's not going to work. It worked with the Raptors. You had a historic run. He was hooping. And, listen, a lot of things fell for them, dog. Just keep it 100 with you, man.
Like that shot against Philly when it bounced,
it bounced in, and fucking Warriors, their whole team went down in the finals. Like, not taking anything away, because what he did was remarkable, and what that team did was great.
Legendary run.
But, like, you got to have luck play its hand, too, and they had a lot of it that year.
Right.
And he's a guy that leads by example. So I get that. We're obviously years later now. He's older. It is what it is. If I go across the board of every contending team, I'll give you their identity, man. Even the teams that aren't even contending, I'll give you an identity. Even the Lakers have an identity. You know what I mean? Like Denver has an identity. You want to talk about Milwaukee? Definitely got an identity. Giannis' identity flows through him. And that's been an issue. Dame's trying to find himself in that. But it's still Giannis is the guy who sets that tone to his team. He's only on the team that's won MVPs. Boston has their identity. It flows through the two. Okay. And then they got all that cast that eats around them. You go team for team, bro. You just made a great point. It's like, is James like a leader type guy? I don't know. Is Paul George? Historically, he hasn't been. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. These are the two individuals who came out talking about we don't have an identity. Brother, it starts with you two and Kawhi. Set the tone. Right. Talk about Russ. It can't be Russ. It can't be Russ.
That's always been your thing. If a guy doesn't play a lot, it's hard for him to be the leader.
I had this argument with Kendrick Perkins on ESPN. I said this, and he was like, that's not true. The Celtics, Tony Allen, James Posey were the leaders. I said, no. They had a voice. They had a big voice. Right. You cannot be the leader of the team. I disagree. You weren't in the locker room. Ask your dad. I don't give a fuck. I call him. I call my dad. He told me. What are you talking about? Yeah. Kevin Garnett was the soul of that. It was the goddamn leader of that goddamn team. Now, the soul and the voice could be a Posey, a Tony Allen, no doubt.
Same that Udonis Haslam was done for the Heat.
Udonis Haslam was the voice for the Heat. He was the soul and the strength. The goddamn captain, Udonis has said it in his own pod. When things went, LeBron, bro, would say something. Dwayne Wade, the two best players. Those are the two fucking captains, okay? Nikola's a guy who doesn't really talk a lot. So he might not be the voice. He's the leader of the team, though. I promise you, okay? Promise you he is. It comes from the best players. It has to. It has to. Otherwise, who the hell are you going to count on with 3 minutes left to go in the game and you need your stars to come through and close the game? It can't be the guy who's sitting on the bench who has a voice. The voice ain't going to put the ball in the basket. Okay? We didn't count on James Posey to close out games for us. Now, he hit big shots. I love Pose. Pose was huge for the Celtics. Again, Eddie House, Tony Allen, those guys all had voices. Great role players for them. Underrated, in fact. They were not the captains of that team. Kevin Garnett was, okay?
You can only do so much.
Rondo, Paul Pierce, these guys, Ray Allen, when they said something, it meant a little bit different. Why do I have to get into it? They're the best players on the team, okay? It matters. So when we talk about the Clippers, everyone talks about their talent. The issue there is Kawhi's a very soft-spoken guy. He's already won rings. He's gotten paid a lot. He's at a weird stage in his career. All right? Paul George is not a guy historically known for being an alpha male leader. James is the complete opposite in terms of his history. People have issues with him in the playoffs. So that is their concern right now. And that's why they asked Ty Lue this last night. And his answer was, our identity is we're soft. This ain't me. It's their head coach saying this.
Yeah.
So that's the problem that's what's worrisome about the Clippers. They don't have a fucking identity. They should. It comes from the top. It's those three, bro. Y'all three got to get together and figure it out. This is what we're doing going forward. This is our identity, and we're going to lose. We're going to lose this way.
Yeah.
Something to fall back on. This, I'm tired of hearing it in the media. Stop talking to us. Go talk in a room. Figure that shit out, man. You guys each make over $40 million a year. Figure it the fuck out. You're the three best players on the team. You're some of the most explosive offensive players that we've seen in the past decade. Figure it the fuck out. You got enough on that team to go compete in talent. It's a wide open West anyway.